Welcome to the Lovefly podcast. It's Paul Tizard, and today's guest is somebody you may remember from a previous episode. He's a co-founder of Not Just Crew, and he's got a really interesting story to tell. So he's back to tell us about that. Mr. Simon Costello, welcome.
Oh, very good welcome. It's great to be here with you, Paul, as usual. It's great to see your face.
You looked surprised when I said you had a great story to tell. I mean, I've got a great story.
Yeah, but you know what it's like. I mean, people think they're great stories, but like you, when you're delivering the story, it's not kind of the same. You know what it's like.
So, do you want me to do the potted history then? So I can talk about it. So the fact Simon and I met years ago when he worked at Virgin as cabin crew, and then he went off and then you worked as a paramedic or something for quite a few years. I don't correct me, jump in at any point.
Well, Paul actually trained me when I joined my when I started my journey in aviation. Paul Tizard, what he alludes to tell you, actually trained me to make me absolute perfection of cabin crew as we speak. I think that's about right, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's what we said you were going to say, didn't we?
It's what you paid me to say, but thank you anyway. That £5 will come in handy.
Yeah, so you did cabin crew for 10 or 12 years maybe, and then you left?
Yeah, postman. Well, I had a bit of a life before I flew. I was a postman for 10 years, cabin crew for Virgin Atlantic for 12, left long haul because I needed to be at home more with my family. So I worked from a domestic airline out in Newcastle for 2 years. Thought I'd take that little leap of faith into the unknown and step away from the airline industry, which was quite daunting, to be fair. But I did, and did car sales for a year, worked in the restaurant industry for 3 months, did not like that. And then I kind of found my niche in the National Health Service, working for the ambulance service on A&E for the last 10 years. And yeah, come the summertime, I was directed into aviation again by a friend of mine who said there was an airline recruiting ultra long haul. So in July, put my application in, and a wonderful lady did my CV. I think we all know her very well, Sarah Willis, and she did my CV, opened the door. I got the interview for Qantas, and I am flying now back in the air for Qantas Airlines and loving every minute of it.
I'm going to have to ask you about a bunch of that as well. But I think you've also skipped over that rather amazing thing you did, that you and Trev did during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but listen, we are kind of very similar, man. It's like, you forget about kind of other things that you've accomplished and achieved. But yeah, almost it'll be 3 years in May that we started our Not Just Crew venture. And it was basically, it was born at the very beginning of the pandemic. I was Trevor's first ever guest, working for the NHS, just to kind of get an insight of what it was like on the front line, dealing with COVID, handling COVID patients, how it affected my family life, my mental health as well, because it did truly affect my mental health. It still has an impact now. But yeah, we were able to support. Wow. Yeah, you set me off here. But like, to date, we have over 11,500 members within Not Just Crew, and we were fortunate enough to be in a position to support and direct people who unfortunately lost their jobs of no fault of their own and were made redundant, put in holding pools that had no incomes coming in. We were in a position where we could kind of like highlight all their amazing transferable skills as cabin crew, that they weren't useless at all, but they could do a million other things, mainly in the National Health Service, like what I was doing. And we were able to provide them kind of a light and a pathway to get into further employment or even start their own businesses, because we did create the career, and we have created the crew market. So any people who do provide services or gifts or anything that they make, we created a platform where they could post them actually in the crew market and sell those amazing things that they make to a wide global audience.
I mean, you literally had, do you think people will be thinking about this now? Because the pandemic seems like a lifetime ago. Mm-hmm. But you working in the NHS, having to deal with all the frontline stuff, all that, you had all that masks on and all the rest of it. I've seen pictures of you guys doing that, and that was tough. And then you got the crew who've kind of lost the job they love and didn't know what to do. They were desperate. And I think you and Emma's Project Wingman were just two kind of examples of fantastic beacons that people had then to sort of hang on to. And I remember looking at when you started your Not Just Crew stuff, that you were literally getting hundreds of people joining every day because they needed some support and help. And it's amazing what you did, mate.
Yeah, I mean, we were doing the Monday Night Lives, weren't we? And you and still are very much a big part of it, Paul. We were delivering our Monday Night Live 7:00, and nobody could go out, nobody could do anything, so they were quite limited. So my face, Trevor's face, Alex's face, and your face were the only faces they could basically look at, which is that a good thing? Well, it was for us, because we were able to provide entertainment and showcase cabin crew who were doing so many different things. We had cabin crew, just an example, going on from made redundant from British Airways, started their own chimney sweep business, making a massive success of that. And we kind of give people and our audience an insight of what they did to actually get that up and running and off the ground. Because people are daunted. They might have an idea, mightn't they? We know this only too well. They might have an idea of what they want to do, but they don't know where to start. So having these guests on our shows kind of give them the information and the tools and the momentum, I guess, and inspiration to go out and do it. Because if they're doing it, then there's nothing stopping you from doing it.
Yeah, it was inspirational stuff, and you're still doing it now.
Yeah.
So this is interesting for me, because I had no idea that you were thinking of coming back to cabin crew. And so it was quite a shock to me when I saw that. I mean, a good shock, but I was thinking, he's gone back.
Yeah.
So, we physical job. And because I've seen lots of people, I've spoken to quite a few people who've gone back into it in their 50s. And I've thought, oh my goodness, I did it in my 20s and I used to be so exhausted. So fair play to you. I don't know how you're doing it. You must be like Superman.
Well, I know the reasons why I did it. And it was because of the reconnecting with the creation of Not Just Crew, and actually getting involved with all the airline industry as well. The cabin crew, they give me the passion and the energy and the drive. I never really truly felt that I'd left that environment. My wife is still flying 25 years. There's you, who's my friend. I've got Trevor, who's obviously my business co-founder. And I've never left that environment of airline, cabin crew. And that's that kind of environment that you're in. Those of you guys who know what it's like to be cabin crew, it's such a positive energy, and it's the kind of drive and determination and the spirit of what cabin crew bring to the table that gives me the energy. Now, I've gone back flying, and people keep telling me they don't know where I get the energy from when I'm on board the aircraft. I know exactly where I get the energy from, and it's from everybody who's around me. It's the passengers, it's the cabin crew. I feed off their energy. It's like, that's what gives me the kind of passion and spirit and energy that I get when I'm on board. I thrive off other people.
So you didn't go back to Virgin. You've gone for another airline.
Yeah.
Was there a particular reason for that, or was it just that you were looking around to see who was recruiting?
I didn't want to work too hard, Paul. So I was very select with the airline that I did choose, because obviously I'm still closely connected to Virgin Atlantic with my wife working there. I know what people's rosters are like who's currently work for that airline, and they are working very hard at the moment. And I know Virgin's still finding their feet, like post-pandemic, and they're still in a process of recovery. Now, when I was informed that the airline I'm working for now was recruiting, I had a good look at what the rosters look like. I had obviously the routes, the pay structure, the training involved as well, the amount of crew that were actually at the base in Heathrow. Now, there's not many, and I didn't even know there was a base at Heathrow. I'll just hit for Qantas. I didn't know that actually existed. So when I had a good look at it and I spoke to a lot of people who currently work for Qantas, then I got a true kind of like feeling for how things were operating there. I got a good insight. Probably is a better insight than what most people would, because a lot of those members were already in Not Just Crew. So I was lucky in that aspect. So yeah, I mean, I still needed that home work-life balance to tick the boxes, as well as a decent pay. That was definitely the case going over to Qantas UK, because yeah, it's working out really well at the moment.
Yeah, I think they're well, they've always won lots of awards, Qantas, and they've all been a great airline. So I'm pleased. I'm really curious what the training was like in terms of, how long it was. Was it, would you find it easy having been through it all before, or was it, I'm really, I imagine it's pretty full on still. Is that the case?
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the emphasis at Qantas is very much on safety first. They pride themselves massively on the fact that they are the world's safest airline. I don't know how true that is, but like, I've got to just take what people say as the truth. But they have a massive safety reputation to uphold. And as regards to the training, I would definitely say that is something that I would agree with, because the training course lasts for 7 weeks, and we did our training at the Global Learning Academy, which was shared with British Airways down at Heathrow. And they always say, trust the process of how we're going to take you through it. Now, I did find the training very hard, even though I've done it many times in the past. I did extensive training with Virgin Atlantic. I did training with Flybe, and then I did a number of training courses with the National Health Service, with the ambulance. Obviously, my friends keep saying you've got to stop doing jobs where you do this like intensive training course, and I really do agree with them, because it is so tiring. I mean, the revision that you have got to do. And I would say the training that I did with Virgin when I was in my 20s, I did not take as seriously as what I have done with the training now with Qantas, obviously because I'm a lot more mature now.
Of course, we can all see that.
Absolutely. I don't go out as much. I'm not easily distracted. So I took the training super, super seriously, like I do anyway. But like I made sure that on my training course, I rented a house out that wasn't too far away from the training centre. The facility was literally 5 minutes away in Colnbrook. This lovely lady was able to provide me with a house that I was able to rent for the 7 weeks. And I just stayed there on my own. So each night that I got home, it gave me that time to revise and have no distractions. Unless Newcastle United were on the telly, then obviously I had that 90-minute break.
Obviously, yeah.
Of course.
You're only human.
Yes. So I was able to like revise, study, concentrate, and do as long as I knew that I did everything that I could possibly during that training, then I knew I'd be happy. Whether I passed or failed, I knew that I'd give it my all. Now, luckily, I got through all of the training. It wasn't easy. The exams were really hard, but I got through it. And I've got to say, it was the longest 7 weeks that I've ever been on. I felt as if it went on for about 7 months, to be fair. But you've just got to knuckle down, get on with it, because it's short-term pain for long-term gain. And I knew what my goal was for my family, for myself, and what I would experience, and I'm not disappointed at all. But yeah, I mean, it's like I say, I'm just so happy to be back. I knew I would find an emotional pull setting foot on the aircraft, even when we were doing in the training and you practice and open the doors in an emergency on the different aircraft that you trained on. I knew that once I set foot on that aircraft as crew for proper and doing all my pre-flight checks, just following all the procedures, doing my safety demo, I knew I'd have all these little moments inside of us where I'm like, wow, I'm back. And I could not take, and I still cannot take the smile off my face when I'm at work, because I still can't believe that I'm back. But I'm loving it so much. It's like the last 10 years working for the NHS just seems like a distant memory, but I know these things happen in your life when you move on from something to another thing. It's like, it's only a few months ago, but like, because I'm so absorbed in the career and the people that I'm meeting now, it's it's just that's all that's around me, you know. I'm back working on an A380, which is a beast of a plane. I've never been
I
on that in
love
my life.
those. Yeah, I love those.
Oh, this just the size of it. I mean, it's exactly the same on the top as what it is on the bottom. Over 480 passengers, 22 cabin crew working, you know. You never see the other crew. You might see the people that you're working with, which my section's economy at the moment. So there's six of you all working in economy. You don't see the rest of the guys till you get off the plane. It's insane. It's so big.
Yeah, I think they're a beautiful aircraft and so
Yeah.
quiet, you know, when you're on it as a passenger. I've been on it a couple of times, went to Singapore,
Yeah.
and which is another great place to go. If that's one of your routes, fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It gives you all these opportunities. I'm well impressed. You've gone back to it. You're taking a 10-year gap. You've gone back, you know. And
it's like, I know you're saying, like, obviously people who get to an age where they think they might be like winding down because it is a tiring job when you're on board the aircraft. But there's people in Not Just Crew in the 60s who've gone back to flying after having a break. And it's just to see them talking when I was at the GLA doing my training, and they were coming up to me and saying, "Oh, you're Simon, Not Just Crew," which again found very strange. I still will never get comfortable with that, I don't think. But I was truly glad that they did come up to me, and like, so I could put a face to the names and stuff. But just to like hear them share their stories of what they've been through in the last 3 years, because a lot of people sit in the background and Not Just Crew. They watch from afar. They're not very vocal, but then for them to come up to me and actually say how much of support Not Just Crew was to them, and what they're doing now, and the back flying, and they're just like they're just the energy that they've got, you know, the smile on the face. I mean, it's very rare when you talk to somebody about a job that you see somebody beaming from ear to ear about it. You know, it's insane. And being cabin crew, working for an airline does that. See, it's insane. It's brilliant.
what's the best bit about it for you? Apart from, I mean, it does sound like hard work as well, but you know.
Well, these are all the questions we always asked our guests that we'll have on the show. What did you miss most about flying? The ones who'd like been made redundant, and this is true in everyone's reply is the same. It's the people. It's the people. It's the crew around you. It's the passengers on board the aircraft. When I'm on that aircraft, I feel as if they're my guests. I never used to think that years ago, but I do now. But honestly, it's like, and I want to go around and talk to as many people as I possibly can, time permitting. I like to know where they're going, what the story is, where they've been, you know, are they okay? Is the entertainment all right? Can I get you anything to eat or drink? Would you like a snack? I want to talk. I want to engage with that person in front of us. I'm very good at chatting to somebody for 5-10 minutes and moving on. It's like, that's my attention span. then my brain just goes to mush. But I'm very good at entertaining a lot of people in a short space of time. And if I can give my personality and my attention to somebody on board that aircraft, and to as many people as I possibly can, and to give them an experience of the airline and of me, something personal where I can pass on to them, whether it be advice, support, or just get a Coke from the galley, whatever, then I feel really glad about that. It really makes me feel happy, because I know they're getting an experience that they probably or possibly wouldn't anywhere else or with anybody else. It's just a little bit of me for them to take home, good or bad.
No, I think, you know, I bet people listening to this will think, I wish you was my cabin crew on board, because you sound like you just really go above and beyond. Because you do see some people, I don't know if it'll be the same now, that people might be more grateful, but you see some people that have passed their sell-by date that do any job. And when you see that in crew, I always think it's heartbreaking, because you just think, you have to do it. You know, there's hundreds of people who'd like that job. So when you see people that just got a bit jaded with it, that's really frustrating. But here you are, back, as enthusiastic as ever. It's amazing.
Well, what you just said there definitely rings true, because there was a lot of points previously when I was at Virgin and I was at Flybe where I did have those feelings, but I would never let it show in the cabin. I would always, like, you know, have the energy, and I would never let that show in the cabin, because you're on stage for a short period of time. Just give it your all, and like I say, feed off everyone around you. But like, yeah, it is a shame when you see other crew who are like that, because as much as I'm trying to like G them up and give them energy, from me, you're flogging a dead horse. It's like, you know, and then I don't like to get that energy back, because then that kind of brings me down a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't let it get on top of us, but like, I'm like, oh, it's like that, isn't it? You're like, I'm like, yeah. And then when you encounter that, you get something back. You're like, oh,
yeah. I can imagine you sound like we used to have an expression called "wired to a Mars bar." That's what you're like.
I just moved to the next galley. I'm like, right, someone else is going to embrace this, and if the crew aren't embracing it, then I'm looking at a passenger who's staring at us, whether they've got that puzzled look on their face, and that they just happen to make eye contact with them. They're getting it.
Foolish person. That's it.
Hello.
I'm coming your way now.
Yeah. They're like, I'm actually watching a movie. Never mind that. How are you doing?
I'm much more entertaining than that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
What's the plan then? Are you looking to be like MD of the world, or are you quite happy doing what you're doing now? What are your thoughts?
My overall plan is that I want to kind of expand within Qantas, but not just necessarily as cabin crew. I really want to push the kind of the brand values that we have at Not Just Crew, which is inspire, encourage, and support. And I want to open various, doesn't have to just be Qantas, could be any other airline. I just want to open their eyes up to how incredible they realize that their cabin crew actually are. Especially like this last 3 years, a lot of people have struggled and still are struggling. And I still don't think a lot of airlines have kind of addressed this at all. I'm lucky because a few of my managers where I'm working now absolutely get it. And when I speak to them, I get just the same amount of passion and energy back as what I'm giving to them, and which I think is absolutely incredible. I'm loving hearing people talk the same language what I'm talking. So if I can bring that into different airlines and just stand up and just be vocal about how much people have struggled these last 3 years and how we can move forward from that and how improvements can be made just in case something like that does happen again. Because we did actually become, I truly believe we did become the aftercare and the support for crew, like since the pandemic. And I don't think it's kind of been acknowledged with various departments that we actually did do a good thing. I still feel as if there should be somebody who actually comes forward and says, you know what, we appreciate what you guys actually did do. And that would go a long way, like to kind of like for me and Trevor to get that acknowledgement. I'm waiting for that moment. I've had it from, like I say, from a couple of managers where I work now, but it would be nice to see other airlines step forward and go, we made mistakes. Yes, we did, but we did what we needed to do to survive. And absolutely, I totally get that 100%. And they did. They're a business at the end of the day, and nobody knew where this was going to end. So everybody did what they needed to do. But at least after all of this, I know loads of airlines have recruited, British Airways, Virgin, all still recruiting. They're getting the people back in. But just hold your hands up and acknowledge mistakes were made. We're all big. We're all adults now. You know, mistakes can be made, and there's improvements to be learned from that. And I just think we have a bigger role to play in supporting airlines to kind of improve that process. You know what I mean? Something like that. But yeah, I mean, my plan is just to keep enjoying doing what I'm doing, getting on board the aircraft, enjoying myself. I haven't got long to go. I'm not ill or anything, but like I haven't got long to go in my this is another amazing thing. It's like I'm 51 in January. I know I've not got long to go, Paul, you know, as regards to career. And you know, I'm not sad about it. Like, you know, I'm looking forward to my pensions. I'm looking forward to just taking it easy and taking my foot off the gas. But like, I love working and doing the stuff that we do at Not Just Crew. I love sitting here talking to you. Yeah. I love talking to passengers on board the aircraft about fear of flying, because we've been on this journey with you, with Lovefly. Luckily, I've been able to talk to passengers. Just on my last flight, there was a young guy there. in his early 20s. Clear as day, I could see he was opposite my jump seat and he was distressed at the takeoff.
Mm.
You know, I could see him fidgeting. I'm like, oh, bless him. You know what I mean? I'm going to talk to him. After we get airborne, I'm going to have a little chat with him just to see where his concerns were.
Yeah.
Like what process is alarming him the most. Once I had time after we took off, I just said, "Are you all right?" And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. I went, listen, I says, you're not alone, you know, when it comes to like having worries and concerns about flying. I says, there's millions of people out there have these concerns. Like which part was it that you were most like anxious about? And it was the takeoff. And on that A380, when we did actually take off, I've never heard undercarriage like retract and make the noises and the vibrations as much as what that does. I mean, it's a big plane. So for me to be sitting just above where the undercarriage is going in, it's quite an experience. You know, it's like, you know what's happening. So I totally know these are noises that I'm not used to working on that plane. The different places that I'm sitting in that cabin, I'm picking up on different vibrations, different noises that'll all become normal to me. But I was so glad that I was able to speak to that young man, and we chatted about all the safety aspects of the plane, how well trained the crew are, what the pilots do, phases of flight, noises. Because we were over the wings, just to let him know about the ailerons, the leading edges, all of this information, just to kind of like make it all normal to him.
Yeah.
And I know his parents were really grateful for like me passing that information on. And this is all things that you provide for people, helping them. Gone off on one there, haven't I?
No, that's good. No, I was going to ask you actually. I was thinking, I wonder what sort of stuff you do for nervous flyers, and you literally went into that anyway. So I was delighted to hear that. And there are a lot of them out there. So this is really great to hear that you're like, particularly, you think on the A380 because it's so big. And it feels so stable. You think that would help people, but I know people still worry about the turbulence, even though it's on that big beast of an aircraft. Because it's just, you feel it, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, passengers getting on board an aircraft. The sheer size of that. I mean, they're going to be looking at it before they've actually boarded. Days before, they're probably Googling this, that, and the other about how the plane works, maybe. But when you actually set foot on it, it can be quite overwhelming, especially if you're one of the first on it and you're seeing all of the cabins and all of the seats and you're like, wow, they've got exactly the same upstairs. How is this thing going to take off? What am I going to experience? It's a daunting experience. But for crew, all you need to do is talk to people. That's what you're good at. That's why we do the job. Talk to them, normalize the situation, and just make them feel comfortable, confident, and don't just talk to that person in front of you. You talk to people, you're looking around, you're talking to the families, get everybody included. So the conversation's not just directed to that one individual, because they might be sitting there going, oh, I'm all right, actually. Oh, there's no need to be talking to me. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with me. Make them feel involved. I enjoy being able to be in a position where I can, like, in these latter years, give a bit of advice and experience. We're lucky, really lucky.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. So when do you think you'll take advantage of these pensions then? How long do we think we've got of Simon Costello doing his thing?
Well, I can start. I've got 4 more years, and then I can start drawing on my personal pensions and enjoying it. And I'm all like, because life is too short. I'm not one of these who's going to be like, right, I'm going to be careful with this, that, and the other. I mean, I'm not going to go to the bingo and blow the lot. You know what I mean? It's like
you know how to live, don't you? Crikey.
I'm good. I know what I'm going to be buying. Because I want to enjoy things while I still physically can, and so I want to get a couple of nice cars. I want to have all those nice holidays. Hopefully, be able to go part-time, still keep my toe in, flying around as cabin crew, still working hard. We're not just crew, and just keep moving forward, and you never kind of close the door to any opportunity that arises. Myself and Trevor and you only know that if you don't knock on a door, it ain't going to open. So I'm enjoying every new experience that we're going through. I mean, we were talking off air about accountants. Now, you talked to me 3 years ago about contacting an accounting agency. I would have just laughed in your face. I'm having conversations with people in that line of work and sort of understanding what they're saying. But I'm working with these individuals, these professionals, running a business and doing the best I can. And I'm either winging it very well, or I'm some sort of subconscious is understanding it somewhere. But it's not as difficult as what you might think it is, because when you're working with people, you've always got the support that you need. You only have to ask somebody, and then they can help. They can try and help you. It's this world. I know some people can be bogged down with the pressures of it and all that, but if you reach out and open up and ask people's advice, then hopefully you'll get the advice you need, and it's not as bad as what you might think it is.
Simon Costello, you said that you get bored after 10-15 minutes, and yet here we are, 35 minutes in, and you've got some quality stuff there. Well, thank you.
And we're sober.
We're sober. Yeah, well, I am. That's for you. You could be on a different time zone to me, so you can justify it. But yeah. So, final tip then for people who are scared of flying. What's from your years of being crew forever, 3 different airlines, plus you've been a paramedic as well. What's your your big tips?
Right. Don't sit there and be silent. If you're worried or stressed, or you have a slight anxiety about anything on board the aircraft, please speak to a member of cabin crew. I would, listen, I'm not ageist or anything. I would kind of go for the more mature one, who maybe you might think, might have a bit more flying experience, because there is some crew out there who've just joined the airline, right? They might only be 2 months, 3 months in. They won't have the same experiences as maybe what the older one has. Like I said, don't shoot me. I don't want to be ageist, but try and go for the crew member who's got the most experience. So the ones with the big bags under their eyes, who are shaking. Yeah, and just chat to them. Tell them what you're kind of like, you're worried about. Get as much information. If there's something you're not sure about an aircraft, ask these guys, because even if they don't know, I would go and try and find out with you. I'd go and speak to the pilots and ask for their advice as well. And just, you've got entertainment on board the aircraft, all the simple things. You just watch a movie, listen to some music. If you've got any therapeutic tapes, like those nice relaxing bits of music, then listen to that. Close your eyes. Just watch people as well. People watching is a great form of entertainment. I love that. How people are, people getting stressed out over on the other side of the cabin. Just enjoy that and just think I'm glad I'm not involved in that. And I'm just sitting here minding my own business. It's lovely. Screaming kids further down the cabin. Just think yourself lucky you're not sat next to that screaming kid. Laugh at and just enjoy the crew. Enjoy the cabin crew. That's what we're there for. We're there for your safety. We are trained. I'm telling you, we are trained to the highest standards, like you wouldn't believe. That training course that I've just been through was so intense. It's pass or fail. If you don't meet the grade, you don't get on board the aircraft. You have to knuckle down and know your stuff. And you know what? I wouldn't feel confident and comfortable if I got on board an aircraft and I didn't know what I was doing. Believe you me, I know what I'm doing when I'm on board that aircraft. If anything was to happen, you're in safe hands. I know all the operations and procedures and all the drills that you need to be carried out. We're there for your safety. That is paramount and the number one. That is the number one criteria that we're there for. We're there for you. We're there to look after you. And I'm not just talking about if something happens with a plane, medical as well. We're there for medical. If anything happens on board an aircraft and somebody needs your medical assistance, we're trained to look after that as well. We've got loads of, we are like a city in the skies. We've got access to all medical equipment, all medical networks. We speak to people on the ground when it comes to stuff like that as well. Anything safety related, we're talking to aircraft in front of us that have already gone through these areas if we're going to experience turbulence. We're so well prepared. It's unbelievable. Like that's one of the great things about aviation. It's just a unique kind of environment to be in. And just think how lucky you are when you get on board that aircraft, and then in 10 hours time, you're going to be in your dream destination and meet that special family member, that loved one, whatever it is you're going from A to B for to experience, you're going to get there. And it's just a short little space of time to get you to where you need to be. And we're there in that little moment in the middle to look after you. It's oh God, I'd fly on planes all the time. It's just, I love it up there. It's great.
Honestly, mate, that's the most positive and inspiring way to finish a podcast ever. That is just phenomenal. I'm not going to ask anything else in case I ruin it. That is just superb. Mate, good. I'm really pleased for you. And I think people listen to this are going to be so reassured to hear the way that you approach safety and how much you normalize all that safety stuff there. That was just brilliant. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for having us, Paul. I really appreciate it.